Modern survival gear promises efficiency, durability, and convenience. Lightweight synthetics, sealed polymers, and factory-tested materials dominate packs and kits today. But history tells a less flattering story. For most of human survival, people relied on natural materials not because they were primitive, but because they worked reliably under pressure, could be repaired in the field, and interacted with the environment in ways modern materials often fail to do. In many cases, modern gear didn't replace these materials because it was better in every way. It replaced them because it was cheaper to mass produce, easier to standardize, or more profitable. What follows is a hands-on look at 12 survival materials history trusted for centuries, materials modern gear pushed aside, and reasons serious survivalists are quietly rediscovering them. Wool was replaced by synthetics and, well, hypothermia statistics noticed. Wool insulates when wet, resists flame, regulates temperature across wide ranges, and can be worn for days without becoming dangerously unsanitary. Soldiers, sailors, and shepherds depended on it because it failed slowly, not catastrophically. Modern synthetics dry faster, but, when they fail, they do so completely. Wet polyester offers little insulation and melts near fire. In practical terms, a wool-based layer can keep you alive through cold rain and freezing nights even when soaked. Try submerging a wool sweater and wearing it in cold wind. Then do the same with a synthetic shirt. The difference isn't marketing, it's physics. Leather was replaced by plastics and longevity disappeared. Leather boots, gloves and containers were, field repairable. You could oil them, stitch them, reshape them and honestly keep them functional for decades. Modern plastics, well, they crack in cold, degrade in heat, and really, they just can't be repaired meaningfully once damaged. Historically, leather footwear adapted to the wearer's foot, which actually reduced injury and fatigue. For modern survival application, a well-oiled leather boot can be resoled, patched, and maintained indefinitely with basic tools. Plastic-based footwear is disposable by design. Wood was replaced by aluminum and composites, and quiet strength was lost. Wooden tool handles flex under stress, they absorb shock, and, they tend to fail gradually. Metal and composite handles, on the other hand, transmit force directly into your joints, and quite often they fail suddenly. Axes, spears, bows, and digging tools made of wood could, if needed, be reshaped or replaced right there in the field. If an aluminum shaft bends or cracks, it's finished. Practically, learning to select and shape hardwood for tool handles gives you access to an endless renewable resource wherever trees grow. Animal sinew was replaced by nylon cord and, heat tolerance vanished. Sinew shrinks as it dries, tightening bindings automatically. It resists heat far better than nylon and does not melt near fire. Indigenous cultures used sinew to bind tools, back bows, and repair gear under conditions that would destroy modern cordage. In survival terms, sinew harvested from large game can be split, twisted, and applied immediately for high-tension bindings. Nylon melts at temperatures easily reached near a campfire. Clay vessels were replaced by metal cookware, and thermal versatility declined. Unglazed clay can be used directly in fire, buried in coals, or heated slowly without warping. It also allows evaporative cooling when porous, keeping water cooler in hot climates. Metal cookware conducts heat faster, but also scorches food and, well, requires careful handling. Historically, clay pots could be made on-site from local materials. In a long-term survival situation, knowing how to source and fire clay gives you cooking and storage capability without industrial supply chains. Bone needles were replaced by steel and corrosion became a problem. Bone needles don't rust, are easy to carve, and can be replaced endlessly. Arctic and coastal cultures relied on them for sewing hides in freezing, salty environments where steel fails quickly. So, practically speaking, bone needles allow you to repair clothing and shelter when metal tools just aren't available. With a sharp stone and, well, a bit of patience, you can actually produce sewing tools that will last for months without any real maintenance. Fur was eventually replaced by fleece, and, honestly, wind resistance was kind of forgotten. Natural fur blocks wind far more effectively than most synthetic fleeces. It traps air while still shedding moisture outward. Historically, fur garments were worn with the fur inward or outward depending on conditions. In hands-on terms, a fur-lined hood or collar dramatically reduces heat loss in high wind, something fleece struggles with unless layered heavily. Birch bark was replaced by plastic containers, and multifunctionality was lost. Birch bark is waterproof, antibacterial, flexible, and burns even when damp. It was used for containers, roofing, fire starting, and medicine. You know, plastic containers really do just one job, and once they're broken, they basically just become trash. Now a survivalist who knows how to harvest birch bark can actually create cooking vessels, fire starters, and even shelter materials from a single tree, all without killing it. Stone was eventually replaced by steel blades, and, well, a lot of edge retention myths started to form. While steel blades are definitely superior in a lot of ways, stone tools still excel at those tasks that need razor edges and, minimal resources. Obsidian cuts cleaner than surgical steel and, well, it can be resharpened quickly. Historically, stone tools were actually disposable by design. In survival scenarios where steel is lost or damaged, stone tools restore cutting ability with nothing but local geology and a bit of skill. So pitch and resin were replaced by synthetic adhesives, and as a result, waterproofing actually suffered. You see, natural resins mixed with charcoal and fibers created these waterproof, flexible adhesives that people used for boats, tools, and containers. These compounds, well, they actually remained functional in wet conditions where, honestly, modern glues often fail. Practically speaking, learning to harvest and process pine resin lets you waterproof seams, repair cracks, and even create fire-starting compounds, all without needing any manufactured chemicals. Rawhide was replaced by webbing, but interestingly, load distribution actually worsened. A rawhide stiffens up as it dries, which creates these rigid frames for things like packs, shields, and containers. It's pretty clever, really, because it distributes weight across surfaces rather than concentrating stress points. Now, modern webbing is fantastic when it comes to strength, but, it often cuts into loads and it tends to fail under abrasion. In practical use, rawhide lashings can make pack frames and sleds that are capable of hauling extreme weight with just minimal materials. Natural fibers were replaced by synthetics and, well, breathability declined. Linen, hemp, and nettle fibers breathe, resist ultraviolet degradation, and can actually be processed locally. Synthetics trap moisture, and over time they degrade. Historically, cordage and cloth were renewable technologies. In long-term survival, being able to harvest, process, and twist plant fibers gives you rope, nets, and clothing without any external supply. So, what exactly does history teach modern survivalists? Well, it's more than just old stories. It's a whole toolkit of knowledge that's still pretty relevant today. The regret isn't that modern gear exists. Honestly, it's that knowledge of natural materials faded alongside it. Modern materials excel in short-term, controlled conditions. But, natural materials really shine in long-term, unpredictable ones. The serious lesson here, I think, is redundancy. Sure, learn modern gear, but also master historical materials. When supply chains fail and replacements vanish, history's materials don't disappear. They're still under your feet, just waiting for skill to make them useful again. If survival is about resilience, well, history already solved half the problem.